said that, let me introduce something else.
Okay.
At one point in my life, due to a series of very interesting circumstances, I spent a good deal, part of several years, working in nursing homes, not for money, but just because I was there seemingly just to be there present for people who had dementia or Alzheimer's, quite elderly people.
Okay.
And I discovered something quite wonderful, that if I approached them in a conversational type of thing, nothing much happened. But if I began to sing and dance with them, a great deal happened. So I learned about 100 songs. This was, what year was this? This was 96, 97, 98. And I learned a lot of songs. And I would deal with an old gentleman who had been born at that time in 1910. And I would take his hands and I would sing to him something that I thought he would have heard as a baby. Hush-a-bye, don't you cry, go to sleepy little baby. When you wake, you will have all the pretty little horses. And then I might go to a song he could have heard in 1913. Every little movement, every little moment has a movement all its own. Every little gesture has a da-da-da-da-da, 1918. I wish I could shimmy like my sister Kate, all the way up.
Gee, you're an amazing woman.
Anyway, I would sing and I would dance, and we would get up. By the 1930s, they were really jiving, The bells are ringing for me and my, I can't give you anything but love, baby,
And
they would sing and they would
fun,
dance,
huh?
and then I would sing to them, where have you been, and what have you been doing? And they would sing back, not everyone, but quite a few, and tell me about these tremendous experiences that they were having, these wonderful relationships and great adventures and tremendous landscapes they were galloping across. And occasionally one or more would become lucid. It was very few, and say that when they were as others were, or the way they used to be, everything was very cloudy and confused. But when they were in their dance and their song and their inner life, it was a very great world. It was as if they had entered into a quantum universe, is the only way I could put it.
Wow. So it was almost as if in those moments, life took on a whole different flavor and spice for them. It was no longer just like robotic. It was.
That's right. Exactly.
Wow. That's a great story. That's a great story. Gee, this has been wonderful.
And I taught a lot of nurses. Nurses to do that. Yeah. Doctors, they said, it's not possible. The brain it has collapsed, so they weren't open. But the nurses were.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of nurses that I'm finding in the health profession that are much more open to alternative ways of working with their patients.
Oh, yeah.
And they know.
Well, they're there with their patients. They see them. They're there. They're hands-on. They're with them. The doctor just comes through. This is not to put down doctors, and you have many doctors who are brilliant exceptions,
right.
and who are there fully. But by and large, it is the nurses who pay the attention to the fullness of the other.
And it's wonderful that they're listening to alternative ways of helping their patients like this, because it really that's the compassionate way that they're coming through. Now we're going to move towards the end of the story here, and as we're moving towards the end, where we move into Dorothy's dark night of the soul, let's talk a little bit about how much power we can all harness from. All of us have some time in our lifetime, there has been a moment or a tragedy or an instance where we just feel hopeless and helpless, and there's this loss and this feeling of devastation, and that's what Dorothy experienced when she was in the tower from the witch had her held up. And
yes.
Let's talk about her inspiration and her courageousness that came out of that dark night of the soul.
Well, what is it about what I wrote that particularly appealed to you? Because I did write about it. Things.
I loved the piece where Well, as we were talking about the Dark Night of the Soul, I loved
Yeah.
the piece where when she came to and Glinda showed up again, and she said, I think I'm paraphrasing here, but she said, Glinda, I want to go home to Kansas, and she says, I need your help, and Glinda says, you don't need my help any longer. You've always had the power to go back to Kansas. And she opened her eyes, and she was in the bed, and all her loved ones were around her, and she felt all the love, and she had gone through this big, wonderful, incredible journey with the flying monkeys and everything through all of Yellow Brick Road, and here she ends up in the end of the story where she didn't even leave her bed. And she went through all that growth and all that expansion and all that adventure and all that awareness by staying exactly where she was. So for me, the moral is you're exactly where you need to be to learn.
Well, remember she said, and I realized it was all in my own backyard.
Yes.
For her own backyard, read the 1939 version of The Collective Unconscious of the Human Soul, so that she could tap into this and that we all contain these great adventures within us. However, to be truthful to the story, the actual story itself, that Frank Baum wrote in The Wizard of Oz, it was a real event. So I would say somewhere between the two is true. Many of us have 5 to 10 to 100 times the amount of sheer experience compared to our ancestor of 150 years ago. And not only the sheer outward experience, but also then our being, ignited, evoked, pushed to the extremes of our interior experience in ways that few in history ever have been, at least not democratically and across millions of people. And so it's these two. It both lies within, but we're also in a time of opportunity, education, challenge, relationships that were never there before in human history to the great masses of people. So both stories are true. The great-granddaughter of Frank Baum, the author of The Wizard of Oz, got in touch with me not very long ago and told me something that was so amazing. The whole story just downloaded itself into his mind. It was all there, all at once.
Wow.
In the same way that J.R. Rowling received the whole Harry Potter story.
Right.
Boom, just in a few seconds while she was on the train to Manchester. So in a sense, this is a story that has been cooked in the cauldrons of the deep collective human mind that arises at this time because we are, like Dorothy, we are living in an outmoded situation. We are in a state of colossal yearning for we know not what. We feel the lure of becoming. We know that we have to expand not just our musculature and our diet. I mean, that's where a lot of people have put it, but our inward senses, the sheer gorgeous muchness of our personalities, and, of course, the ability to live in a time in which fusions of cultures and consciousness are happening as we move slowly but surely to a world civilization with high individuation of culture. We have to meet our entelechy, our higher guidance self, that which is evoking and provoking us to new ways of being and doing. And, of course, we have to take action, regrow our minds, knowing that we can do it at any age, open our hearts, take the great stories of our life and risk and really do something, enact our purposes at a higher level. All of this is true. The wizard is us.
The wizard is us, and we are here for a great journey. This has been a wonderful book to read. I highly recommend it. I'm going to buy a few copies for some loved ones of mine because this is just, it gives you a different perspective at looking at just about everything. So it really does. The only thing you didn't cover, and I really wanted to know, was what was the little people's purpose?
Well, the little people recognize her. She's recognized. She lands, and they said, "Are you a goddess? What are you? You're wonderful." They see her in her fullness. They help her get on the road. In the book, they are she's really 6 or 7 years old in the book, or 8 years old maybe. So they're all the same size. Judy Garland was 16 at the time, so they have to be change that around a little bit. But
right.
but they see her, they acknowledge, hi ho, the witch is dead. She has already announced the ending of that which has been tormenting them, and she is recognized for her greatness right in the beginning.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. And I want to make sure everybody can get a hold of you. So you have jeanhouston.com as your website. They can get a hold of you for all your workshops and your teleseminars and all the work that you have going on all the time. I don't know how you sleep with everything you've got going on. I really don't.
Well, not too much these days. That's true.
I imagine. But this has been such a wonderful, wonderful treat for me. I've really enjoyed talking to you and just hearing your wisdom and your beautiful perspective on everything we've talked about today. And it's just been a wonderful delight for me. Is there anything you'd like to offer, add, direct our audience to you? The floor is yours.
Well, I think to know that these are the times and we are the people. I mean, we have won the ultimate Olympics, haven't we? I mean, of all those millions of sperm just traveling and swimming like mad, meeting that particular egg. You're it. You're the one who won. You won. My goodness, what an outlandish thing. I mean, it's truly like a 1,000,000,000 to 1 chance that you actually came into life and form and deeply appreciated. You came in coded with so much, with so many talents and joys. Find a group to explore these things. Use my books, use other people's books, whatever. That isn't a psychotherapeutic group. A psychotherapeutic group is very useful, but it's for something else. This is a growth group, a teaching, learning community, to really work together, to play together, to explore the new ways of being that are yearning at the threshold of your mind and heart to manifest, so that you become like Dorothy, one who traverses essentially the road of spiritual pollen and realizes that you have, every one of you in your own unique way, have a splendid mind, a glorious heart, and the courage to do, to be, to act, to become.
Amen. That's beautiful. You're very poetic. You are truly a philosopher. And Jean, God bless you. Thank you for all the work that you have done for all of us, for so many people and countries. I mean, you are just a phenomenal life spring of energy. And I have to say this because I think that this is one of the best quotes I've ever heard. And it came from Buckminster Fuller. And he gave a comment about you, and he said, Jean Houston's mind should be considered a national treasure. And I think that is just a great quote.
Well, there are many, many treasures out there, and the wizard is us. They all lie within us. Thank you very much, Lisa. It's been
Thank you very
much, pleasure
Jean.
talking with you.
It's been a great pleasure for me. God bless you. God bless all of your work that you're doing, and have a wonderful week. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, it's Flo, and this is my impression of a traveling lounge singer. And we're going up the airport escalator. Hey, where you from? No response. Classic. Got in an accident, so you got to take a cab, huh? No cabs at Progressive Service Centers. They got rental cars on site, which is out of sight, you know?
Progressive takes the hassle out of claims. Just drop your car off at one of our service centers, and we'll manage the rest.
Here's a little number I like to call Waiting for the Shuttle Bus.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Service centers not available in all areas. You have a choice of repair facilities.